I thought the worst thing about being a sugar baby would be the judgment. But it wasn't. It was the girl who came before me, the one who vanished without a trace, until I started seeing her reflection in mirrors that weren't mine. And now, I think she wants me to take her place. It started 6 weeks ago, when I answered a listing that didn't look like the others. Most sugar daddy profiles are predictable: cars, champagne, euphemisms for what they really want. But this one was different. Just a single line: discretion, generosity, a preference for continuity. No name, no picture, but the message was direct. $1,000 per meeting, weekly, non-physical, must commit to silence. I was 23, in debt, between jobs. The idea of no sex and $1 grand a week? I replied immediately. He sent a time and an address. No pleasantries. The place was in an old district outside the city, one of those pre-war houses with blackened bricks and balconies made of iron curls. The air smelled like rain and rust. The porch had cracked tiles and a single light flickering above a tarnished brass knocker. The hallway inside was unusually silent. No music, no TVs, just doors, all closed. I knocked. He opened immediately. Mid-30s, perhaps. Tall, thin frame with sharp shoulders. Sandy blonde hair combed back neatly, and a trimmed beard that gave him a faintly academic look. His suit was dark blue, subtly patterned, like something from another decade. But it was his eyes, hazel and restless, that unsettled me. He said nothing at first, just stepped aside, letting me in. The house was dim but clean, sparse furniture, mostly black and glass, every window covered in thick beige curtains. He finally spoke. "You are not the first." I didn't ask what he meant, but I should have. The rules were simple. I'd come once a week, sit in silence for an hour while he read. No touching, no conversation. At the end, I'd receive an envelope and leave. The first 2 meetings were exactly that. We never exchanged names. I'd sit on the leather couch. He'd sit across from me, near a window, always drawing the curtain shut behind him, and read aloud from old books in a language I didn't recognize. It wasn't Latin. I looked it up later. No results. I kept going. $1,000 each time, cash in an envelope, no messages in between, just a knock at the door, always precisely at 7 p.m. Then, on the 3rd week, something changed. He asked me to follow him to the back room. It wasn't large, maybe a converted office, but the walls were covered in mirrors, full length, all facing inward, and in the center, a single metal chair. He motioned for me to sit. I hesitated. "What's this?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked to the far side and lit a single candle. The flame flickered strangely, almost sideways. The mirrors caught the light and multiplied it, but none showed our reflections. "I want to try something," he said finally. "It won't hurt, I promise." I sat. He handed me an old locket, tarnished silver with a cracked glass face. "Hold this, close your eyes, I'll speak, you'll listen." I did what he asked. The words he said weren't English, the same guttural script from before, but this time they felt heavier, like sound and weight had fused. My ears popped, my chest tightened, and then I felt it. A hand, cold, on my shoulder. I opened my eyes. There was no one behind me, but in the mirror directly in front of me, I saw her. A girl, slightly younger than me, pale, wet hair clinging to her face. Her eyes locked onto mine, and her mouth moved, as if screaming, but no sound came out. I spun around. Nothing. The room was still. I turned back. She was gone. When I looked at him, he only said, "She's not angry, just lonely." He handed me the envelope. I left. I didn't sleep that night. I should have stopped then, but the envelope the next week was thicker. $1,500. No text, no explanation, just the knock, 7 o'clock sharp. I went back. This time, he didn't wait in the front room. The door was unlocked. I let myself in and found a note on the table, downstairs. I didn't know the house had a basement. There was a trapdoor behind a bookcase, ajar, as if expecting me. A wooden staircase led into cold, dry darkness. At the bottom, another room of mirrors. But this time, the mirrors were tilted upward, facing the ceiling. He stood in the center. Beside him, a mannequin, human-sized, female, covered in black cloth. He asked me to sit again. The chair was new, upholstered, red velvet, but it wobbled. Today, he said, we observe. He didn't chant. He just lit a match and dropped it into a metal bowl filled with something oily. A flame rose, blue and motionless. Then he took the cloth off the mannequin. It wasn't a mannequin. It was a woman, or what had been one, mummified, preserved somehow. Her eyes were sewn shut, mouth twisted into something between a grin and a scream. But what got me, what froze me, was her hand. The locket, the same one I'd held. He watched me carefully. She left early, he said, didn't finish the sessions. I couldn't move. She comes and goes now, through the mirrors, but she's incomplete. You see her because she's looking for someone to anchor her. I backed away. I didn't ask questions. I ran. At home, every reflective surface felt wrong. The microwave, the windows, even my phone screen. If I stared too long, I'd see her. Not clearly, but enough. The outline, the movement. I started covering everything. Sheets over mirrors, towels over screens. But she got closer. I began hearing her. Not words, not even a voice, just breath. On the back of my neck, in the middle of the night. I tried burning the locket. It wouldn't catch. I buried it in a dumpster 5 blocks from my place. That night, I woke up with the locket on my pillow. He didn't contact me again. But every night, I still felt it. Her breath, her eyes. And in the bathroom mirror, just before the fog formed, I'd catch a glimpse of her smile. Like she knew something I didn't. The day after I tried to throw the locket in the river, I got an envelope under my door. No name, no return address. Inside was a page torn from a journal, mine, one I hadn't touched in years. On it, a memory I never wrote down. The first time I lied to my mother. Scrawled at the bottom in black ink, "You forget, she remembers." Attached with tape was a strip of developed film, old school, faded at the edges. I had to hold it against the light to see. In one of the frames, my house, my desk, and there, in the corner, blurry and hunched, a figure sitting in my chair, hair covering her face, hands pressed flat against the desk, as if waiting. There were no shadows in the room, no light source, but her outline pulsed faintly, wrongly. On the back of the page, written in looping cursive, "You're almost ready." I stopped sleeping. I left the TV on just to drown out the silence. I shoved the locket into a drawer and sealed it shut with duct tape and salt. Every night, I stayed awake and stared at the door to my room. And every night, nothing came through. But the locket, it vibrated. Not loud, just barely, like it had a heartbeat. I started seeing her during the day. Not full-bodied, never that, but glimpses, in reflective surfaces. A storefront window, catching her behind me for half a second. The stainless steel of a bus stop bench, revealing her seated beside me. Never blinking, always silent. She was closer every time. Then one night, the power went out. No storm, no warning, just silence. And then, tapping. From inside my closet. I grabbed my phone. The flashlight flickered, then died. No signal. I should have left, but I didn't. I opened the closet door. Nothing, except the locket. It was on the floor, pulsing faintly red. The drawer I had locked it in, still shut, unmoved. I backed away, and then the lights came back on, but only one, above me, a single bulb flickering erratically. Everything else stayed drowned in shadow, and in the shadow by the mirror, she stepped forward. Not materialized, stepped. Her dress was torn in places I didn't remember. The seams around her eyes were tighter now, the skin puckered. And where her lips had once been threadbare and shut, they were now open just slightly, enough to whisper. She raised one arm, her hand held the locket. And in that same whispery voice I heard from the film, from the mirror, from the dreams, she spoke. Finish it. I shook my head, unable to speak. My mouth felt glued shut. She tilted her head, the threads around her eyes twitching. You took the deal, she said. I didn't understand, but somewhere deep down, part of me did. I had walked into something old, something hungry. And she was just next in line when she vanished. Now, it was my turn. She stepped back into the mirror, and I followed. Or maybe my reflection did, but I felt it. The shift was different. No fog, no words, just my own reflection, standing too still, a faction too long after I moved. Then her, not in the glass, but behind me, just out of focus. A shift in the light, a weight in the room. I turned fast, nothing there, but my breath hitched like someone else's lungs were breathing through mine. And the locket hung from the bathroom doorknob, open, empty.